Hey everybody, and welcome to the second part of modeling this kitchen faucet. Now in the first part, we went over how to model what you see here, basically the base with the handle and the holder for the kitchen nozzle or the faucet nozzle. So let's continue and finish up this model. So I have a few more things left to model, which is the actual nozzle, this hose, and this spring here. So let's start with the nozzle. This is a very simple thing to model. So I'm going to select all of this, and for simplicity I'm simply going to put on a standard shader, a very simple one. It's a gray one, and make everything black like this, so the difference in color doesn't take our attention away. All right, so for this, first thing I want to do is model this nozzle. It's a very simple thing to do. I can again start from a circle, or I can use a cylinder, whatever works best for you. Make sure you click off enable render in viewport. From here I'm going to create control the radius till about there. Alright, I'm going to rotate this for 90 degrees and put a shell on top of it. Now I just want to make sure that this thing is gonna actually fit in here, because this is the holder for it. It would be nice if actually the size is right. There we go. Awesome. Alright, this works. Now, on top of this shell, I'm going to put an edit poly so it's easier for me to control it. I'm going to give it a bit more height, as I can see that this height protrudes a tiny bit taller from here. And I'm actually going to select everything else. And for now, I'm going to right click and hide it because I don't need it. And I can see that this here is just a cylinder that in goes the hose, and then it continues going down in the actual nozzle. So basically this is a connector. So let's give it that hole. So hold down control, select the top and the bottom, inset, and then bridge. That is going to give you a nice looking connector. So again, ring, loop, chamfer to give it the edges it needs to hold the form. Again, 2 segments, click OK. Hit turbo smooth with 2. And there we go. We get that nice connector there. And let's make this one. So again, for this, instead of a circle, this time around I'm going to go with an actual cylinder. In the standard ones, take a cylinder. Of course it's going to make it the same color. Alright, rotate it. Now here I'm going to remove all the height segments so it's easier for me. 18 segments, not bad, we can work with that. Edit poly, get it up till about there, pull it downwards. And once we have that, what I want to do here is I'm going to delete the top and the bottom again. This time around, I'm simply going to use it so I can scale this thing in like that. So once, scale it in like that. And now I'm going to take the bottom, pull it outwards once, scale it out like that, and pull it downwards one more time. And with this we get a really quick look at the nozzle. So I want to align this to this piece over here. So X, Y, and Z, not Z, but all right, X and Y. Now this is directly in the middle, as it should be. And what we want to do here is give it some thickness like there, and hold on shift and pull it downwards once. So for this I want to select these 2 portions here, or these 2 edges, and with the chamfer you want to give them a very sharp chamfer with 2 segments. And then we have another very well, weak chamfer. So we don't want to have this one to be that sharp. We just want to have a nice transition, which should be like that. Let's check it out. Yep, I can actually see that we have a minor chamfer over there, and the flow continues on to this sharp edge. Now I'm gonna just deal with this portion over here because I can see that I have two more pieces where this thing should chamfer like that, with a very mild chamfer. There we go. But it's still there. Should give it a bit more better form. And there we go. We got that. Now what we want to do here is we want to select this piece over here, which is basically the pressing pin to release the water. And to make that, all we got to do is first we need to define where we want to have that thing. So in the edit poly, let's say we want it till about there. So click once. Once we have this, we can simply go in and select the piece where we're going to have this portion and delete this piece over here like that. So we no longer have those polygons. So basically what we did here is I made a hole, which I can select it, and now I can create a shape out of this. So make it a linear shape, click OK. And with this, now with this shape or this spline, what I can do here is give it a shell. That shell should give it a thickness. But the problem is usually, sometimes when you extract a spline from an actual model, the X form can get screwed up, and if you try to add a shell, it's gonna make it negative. So what I can try to do here is make it an edit poly. Again, the same problem. All right. And usually if that problem persists, we're gonna have to fix it. So we're gonna go to our utilities, you go to reset X form, click on reset selected, right click and go. Actually, you can first check out in the modifiers. You can see that we have the X form now applied. Right click, convert to an edible spline. And now if we put a shell, it's gonna not work again. All right. All right, back to putting in one more X form reset. Oh well, I'm gonna delete the whole thing again and go from scratch one more time. Hopefully this time it works. So create a shape, linear, okay. Let's see if Max is gonna fizzle out on us again. So again, reset X form, reset selected, right click, convert to edible spline, shell, and there we go. This time it decided to work. Like I said, sometimes when you're extracting geometry from, or extracting lines from geometry, the X form can get screwed up, and if that happens, now you know how to fix it. So edit poly, add in one line like that, and now what I want to do here is select those two, collapse, select those two, collapse, and select those two and collapse. So this is basically giving me the option to make it as thin or thick as I want it to be, like that. And now let's just add in the extra edges that we need. So the top one, the bottom one, connect them. I'm going to isolate this, delete the backside, and add in the needed edges. So one there, one about there. Now the problem is with this type of adding is that sometimes you get issues like this, but it's a simple cleanup for something that really shouldn't have taken this much time. But what are you gonna do? All right, add in one more edge here. Clean up that one, connect that one to that one. And now add in the corner ones. And hopefully this is gonna work now that we apply our turbo smooth. So let's just connect this one at the end over here. Although I think this is gonna create a bit of a problem for us. There we go. That one goes up till, god damn it, there we go, connect there. Or not, so we're gonna go with the connect. Or the cut, not the connect. Till about there. And now when we turbo smooth this, yep, it's actually okay. Not the best thing ever, but it can work for now. Alright, so if we put on the turbo smooth now, it can work like this. Also, we can go in and add in the extra edges around here, but since that hole is really not going to be seen, we can use it as it is like this. And now that I got this made, I just want to finish up the bottom here. Now here's the thing, when you only have one piece of or one picture, one piece of information or reference file, and you need to finish up the bottom, you might have to go and scour Google for some information. And I actually went ahead and tried to find something very simple, which is basically just a kitchen nozzle or the faucet nozzle. As you can see, it's a very simple thing. It's just a cylinder which has a bit of a woven net in the opening here. So let's close this. And here, what I can do here is the first thing, I want to select my edge, shift inwards once, like that. And that is going to give me the base for my nozzle. So the way to do this is hold on Control, click on Polygon. That's going to select the entire polygon and go detach. Now here's one thing that you should probably try to follow, is that whenever you're modeling something and then you need to have another part come or derive from that original piece, you want to try and always extract information from it, like I did here. So for this, since we only need a cylinder, I'm going to select the border, pull it downwards just once, pull it inwards one more time, and pull it upwards. Now this is giving me the base for whatever I want to do. I'm going to select this top portion, get it a tiny bit smaller, and put it inwards. And that is going to help me once I want get this thing done as well. Well, there we go. Inwards like that. Chamfer, a very slight chamfer on this top portion. 2 segments, so you have a sharp edge. Turn on the turbo smooth. There we have. Great, that is fixed. Now we want to add the needed chamfers here as well. So very tight chamfer on this side, or it doesn't have to be very tight, but something like this. Another one over here. This one actually can be a bit more lenient like that. And now when I put a turbo smooth, you can see that you have this nice looking edge where it simply looks like it's flowing one into the other. Now it's a very rarely we will ever have to go this detail on something like this, but let's say you want to have it. Here's how to do it. Now the only thing that's we're missing is the mesh on the bottom, but like I said, it's very rarely that we will ever have to create one, but for this tutorial sake, let's simply go ahead and I can show you how you can do something like this. I'm gonna go and do the easiest thing, which is make a plane, cover up the hole here, make it so it's a square one, so go 40 by 40 here. I'm gonna align this in the center, so both of these are aligned. Move this downwards so it covers up the opening like this. And now what I want to do here is I want to add in more segments. So for this, let's try and see how many we're going to need. Let's try 20 by 20. This is going to create a nice mesh. Great. And from the modifier list, I'm going to go to lattice. And the lattice, now when it comes in like this, it basically looks like nothing and it's unusable. But what we want to do here is go struts only from edges. We don't want to have both. And now we want to decrease the radius of these to something like 0.1. You can either increase the size if you want to have it more detailed or not. You can leave it up like this. So it's a very dirty and easy way of doing it. I'm gonna go with the plane. I'm gonna hit edit poly and now hit all of those vertices that you don't need and delete them. But take into account the fact that I have edit poly below lattice, not on top of it. So with this, what I'm actually doing is I'm deleting all of these vertices that I don't want or that are hidden or protruding through the model. And now once the lattice is applied, that is no longer an issue. So we have a nice mesh. Let's give it a nice black color. Apply the placeholder material to it. And there we go. We have a nice mesh on top of here. Now, usually these meshes have a tendency to have a little inclination downwards or a little place where it's like this, as you can see it over here. So in order to make that, simply go into FFD modifier, put a 3x3 modifier on it, and on the Z, just pull it downwards just once, but make sure that the mesh doesn't protrude too much through the actual mesh over here. And with the edit poly, just move it slightly upwards like that. And there you go. You have a nice clean mesh. And everything's fine. Again, I'm going to put this everything to black. Give it the placeholder material. And with this, we have the nozzle more or less made. So for this, the only thing I'm missing in here is this connection. But that connection is going to come from the end of this piece over here. So let's proceed to making this piece over here. So in order to make this, I'm going to start off with a simple line. So first of all, I'm going to unhide all because I want to see my entire model. Now that I have this, I'm going to start off with a simple line. Or to make it even easier, I can start off with a circle. I go click and drag out words until I have everything in position, like that. Now, right click, convert to an editable spline. Select the bottom one and delete it. Select the top vertex, move it upwards like that. And now, since I don't have more information over here, I want to increase the steps of the interpolation to something like 6 or even more. And then I can click and pull these guys. Now, in case you can't move these to the left or to the right, you can only go up or down. That means the axis has been constrained. By clicking F8, you can unlock the axis, and now you can simply move it into position to wherever you want it to be. Like that. Now I have this one. It's really nice. I want to make sure that this is in the center over here. This should be a tad bit more on this side, like that. Now, like previously, we saw that if we use the option to make this renderable, we basically get free geometry out of this one. And in this case, it's actually working quite nice. So I'm going to get the thickness to be about the right size for the nozzle. And we can see that here we don't have the right size, but this is actually correct, because this is not the size for the hose, but it's actually the size for our metal spring here. So for this, what I'm going to do here first is I'm going to add in edit poly on top of it. And now select the bottom, that one, that one, and that one, delete, select one, delete, and put a turbo smooth on it to make it so we have a more, there we go, a smoother transition for that same exact hose. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go and duplicate this. So I'm going to go Shift V and make a copy out of this one and hide the selection. And now we're working on the copy. On the copy, I'm going to delete the turbo smooth. I'm going to delete the edit poly. And here I'm going to turn off both of the enable and viewport in renderer. So what I'm left with is just one simple line. So now we are left with the more complex or the more interesting piece to model, and this is the spring. Now, when you're modeling springs, the easiest thing to do is use an actual geometry from here, or use helix. What a helix does is basically a spring. So you basically go and give it a radius, give it a height, and then another radius. So with a few clicks, you end up with something like this, as you can see. Now, in the modify panel, you have the radius, the height, and then you have this turns. In your case, it's probably something like set to 1, so you probably got something like this, but it tends to keep the settings you've used previously. I think I did try out this, so it saved out the turns for me. So in this case, I want to get this radius to be the same with my second radius. So I'm going to try with a 13 by 13. This is a trial and error thing. In order to get it as close as possible, I'm going to select these and isolate with the ring. And now I'm going to select this. And with the 13, doesn't work. So I'm going to try 16.5 with 16.5. And that's going to be a bit too big. All right. Move it inwards and go, let's try with 16 by 16. Or, let's go with a smaller value because this is going to have thickness anyways. So once we have this, we need to give it a height. So for this, I'm going to try and get it to as closely as possible to about here. So that means when I go to the height, somewhere around there should be nice. Now what I'm going to do here is increase the number of turns until I get the thickness of the turns to be to where I want it. Now for the actual thickness of this spring, I'm going to use the same thing where I'm going to give it a thickness by enabling in viewport in renderer. Give it a bit more. That should be enough. And now to negate this distance, I'm simply going to increase the number of turns until they get close to basically touching each other. There we go, like that. All right, once we have it set up like this, I'm gonna move it downwards a tiny bit. Now I need to have another portion where everything else, let me just hide everything for now. I need to have one more portion where the spring is gonna have a little bit less tension on it, and then it goes on to being like this again. Now in order to make this, what I want to do here is I want to break this into 3 actual pieces. So the first one is where it's very dense. We have one more piece. I'm gonna hold down Shift, click it upwards like this once, and then hold on. Well, actually, let's fix up or do the changes here first. So I'm going to increase the height because I want this thing to be like that. And if that thing is not spaced out enough, you can always reduce the turns like that. And now here's the thing. I want to get it so it's lower. And if this thing is not rotated correctly, feel free and rotate it manually till it gets about there. So we have this little gap. And then I'm going to hold down Shift, drag it upwards one more time, rotate it, and again with the rotate, move it till it's about there in that position. Now for this, I want to decrease the height because this is going to be the last portion over here, which is supposed to be the smallest one. So the height should be very small, and oh, that's actually the turn, the number of turns. The height should be very small, like that. And actually, yeah, that works just right. All right, that's cool. So what we want to do here is once you have this helix, I'm going to go and edit poly and go ahead and delete those edges on the end. Delete that one. And now attach it with this piece and that one. And what we want to do here is do a bit of cleanup because the edges here, when you use spline to make the geometry, you usually end up with some geometry you need to clean up. So if everything is fine, you delete that thing. And make sure that when you're selecting, you select these two guys. Those are usually, those two triangles happen when you put an edit poly on top of a spline. So now let's connect these two. So with a bridge tool, we can connect it. If you don't want to have this seam, in this case, it will not be seen. But if you have more lower geometry, what you can do here is you can select both of the edges or both of the borders, bridge them together, then select the one in the middle, ring connect, select two of the sides, Control backspace, and there you have. Now you have a seamless transition from one to the other. And the bottom one, again, we can either hold on, shift and cap this one like that. Cap, and there we go. Collapse. Or we can just leave it outwards because this is really not going to be seen because it's going to be in the middle of our faucet. So with turbo smooth, when you give it 2 iterations, you basically get a really nice string for our faucet. I'm going to unhide this. And now what we want to do here is get it so it's in it's in the path of our faucet. So I'm going to hide this, and now we have this here line that we made, or the one that we copied. So in order to get this spring to follow this line, from the modifier list, we're going to choose the path deform world space modifier, and from here pick path, click there, and hit move to path. Now the thing is, usually when it goes like this, it can go downwards. We can just hit flip, it's gonna go upwards. And if this thing is not where it's supposed to be, you can move it for the percentage wise to where you want it to be. So for me, it probably should go up, there we go, until there. And all right, let's not flip it, let's move it downwards again. So with the movement like that till about there. And now if we want to have this even more stretched out, you can actually stretch it from here. There we go. But in this case, it's actually stretching it the other way. So again, I'm going to have to move it and control it like this. There we go. Like this is going to be just fine. So now I'm going to unhide everything. And with this, we basically have modeled everything there is to model about this faucet, including all of these nice details that we have here on this portion of the faucet. Anyways, I hope you guys had fun and you learned something new. If you do have any questions, leave them below. I will meet you in the comment section like always. If you enjoyed this video, then please click the like button. And if you're not subscribed, now is a great time to do so. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all in the next videos. Bye bye for now.